Hey, Brooks Belanger here with Bellis Lawn and Gardens, and today I'm going to be bringing you a quick how-to video for changing your wheel bearings on your trailer hubs. I've already changed the other three. I've got one left, so I'm going to go ahead and film that and show it to you. I do want to point out that I am changing the rear axle hub, so if you're working on an idler axle that doesn't have a brake hub, understand that it's pretty much basically all the same. It's just a different configuration so far as the brake drum, but everything else remains the same. So also want to give a quick thank you to Brian over at Brian's Lawn Maintenance. He sent me this shirt, this SureCan shirt. Appreciate it. I don't personally own a SureCan, but now that I got the shirt, I guess I should go out and buy the matching gas can. So let's get into this and let's see how we do it. So as always, safety first. You want to make sure you have your wheel chalked, and I've got the old landscaper chalk down there. A shovel works just as good. So this is everything you'll need for this job. You're going to need a pair of channel locks, a hammer or a rubber mallet, your choice, a pair of needle nose pliers. Definitely going to need some gloves. This gets to become a real messy job quickly. Going to need some grease. Make sure you get the correct kind for your application. Going to need some brake cleaner. Going to need a block of wood. And you're going to need a flathead screwdriver or a punch. I've got this old screwdriver head right here. I've been using it and it's worked out pretty good. So I'm going to use that. You also need a rag and paper towels, which I still have inside. I'll go in and grab those here in a little bit. Remove the dust cap. You just tap it on the sides. Spin it around. Okay, so the next thing we have to do is remove this Carter pin. You may have a different configuration on yours. Sometimes there's a little tab that you have to pull out in order to remove this castle nut. But the most popular configuration is a cotter pin in here, and this is where you don't know, pliers will come in handy. Get that out. Once this is removed, now you can remove the castle nut. Sometimes you may have to use your channel locks to get the castle nut off. And there's going to be a washer on the back end of your castle nut. So when you pull this off, this front bearing is liable to fall out. So if you're going to reuse your bearing, just be aware of that. I'm actually going to replace my bearings. None of my bearings, whenever I did the other ones, were bad, but I'm just replacing them anyway because the kits are relatively inexpensive, so I'm just redoing that. But if you're just repacking, just be aware that when you pull that out, it may fall, so you don't want a bunch of dirt to get in it. Then you're spending a little extra time cleaning it. And there's your front bearing. Okay, so we got it off. Now the next step is to get to the back bearing, and in order to do that, we need to remove the grease seal around it. So now we're going to do that, and I'll show you real quick. Okay, now we're going to remove this back grease seal, and they do make a special tool for this. And of course, I don't have it. I'll go to Harbor Freight and pick you one. I ain't going to Harbor Freight. I'll redneck this like a boss. Now, once you get it behind there, just be careful. You want to Easily do it and you'll be fine if you don't have the press to get it out. She's a coming. Come on, you little bugger. Hell. I swear to you, the other three that I did came out a lot easier than this one's coming. Of course, the one I'm going to film kidding me right now. That thing is in there good. There she goes. Look, this the metal around here is pretty strong. It's pretty thick. You know, just be careful when you're prying it out there that you don't cause any damage to this inner ring, and you'll be okay. But we got that out. Here's our back bearing. So what I will do next is clean everything up, clean the old bearings, and I'm going to inspect the old bearings and the racers that the bearings sit on. So far, all my other ones have been fine. So at this point, you're going to need your rags and a crap load of paper towels. I'll clean that out, spray some brake cleaner in there and get it nice and clean, and then we'll inspect them. Okay, so we got those all cleaned out. Make sure whenever you're cleaning this that you don't get any grease on the sidewalls of your drum. If you do, be sure to just clean it up. Alright, so now at this point, we'll take a look at the racers and the old bearings and see what they look like. So we got our bearing all cleaned up. Hopefully you can see that the lighting's good enough. It doesn't have any discoloration on it, no pitting. Now we're going to check the racer, and we're going to do this on both sides, but I'm just going to show you the back side, but I'll flip it over and check the front too. But on the racer, and your bearing's going to sit in there like this with the tapered end facing down, and it rests on that racer in there. This right here is your racer, and you just want to check it for any discoloration, any pitting, or anything like that. Mine checks out fine, so no need to replace that. Thank God, because those can be a pain in the butt getting out. Well, I think a bigger pain putting back in, actually. Okay, so everything's cleaned up. Now we're going to move on to the next step, and that's to pack our bearings. Now we're going to go ahead and pack our bearings. The procedure for packing the bearings is the same for the front and back. Get your big old glob in there. And then you just want to make sure you push it down in there. Main thing is to make sure you squeeze as best as possible that grease down into those bearings. We got it in there as best as we can. We're going to set our bearing down onto the racer. Remember, the tapered end facing down. The bearing can actually only fit in there in one direction. Now the next step, we're going to replace our new grease seal. Let me get these gloves off and grab the grease seal. Okay, I got the grease seal, and this is where your block of wood will come in handy. You want to make sure the piece of wood that you use expands the width of the grease seal, because we want to make sure that it goes on as evenly as possible. There she go. That's all she wrote. Make sure it's nice and flush, which it looks like it is. One more tap right there. There we go. Now we're going to flip it over. And I'm going to go ahead at this point and pack the front bearing, but I'm not going to drop the front bearing in here. And the reason for that is when you put this hub back onto the spindle, you know, sometimes trying to line it up, understand that the front spindle sits in here freely, and when you're trying to line it up and put the whole assembly back on, there's a good chance you could push it out, it falls on the ground and gets dirty. So to avoid that, I'm going to leave the front spindle out for now, but I'm going to go ahead and get it packed, and I'll be back in a second. Okay, so I cleaned this spindle off, went ahead and applied a light coating of grease over the spindle. Now I'm going to grab the hub and slide it back on. Okay, now we got the hub on. At this point, what I'm going to do is go grab the front bearing and slide it on. Remember, the tapered end faces in. Make sure you push it all the way in. You may have to lift the hub up a little bit. Excuse me, the drum. Dang, this grease getting everywhere. You're going to grab your washer. Of course, I haven't cleaned it off. Washer here cleaned off. I'm going to slide it on like so. Man, look at this grease. It's kind of cold today. It's getting tacky. Okay, so I got my castle nut all cleaned up, ready to put it back on. This part's important because you don't want to over tighten it. Okay, so what we're going to do here is take your channel locks and get it snug. Okay, it feels really tight there. Then we'll back it off 1/4 turn, and then we need to make sure that our cotter pin hole is visible to slide it in between this castle nut. We're going to take our cotter pin, slide it through, tap her down. Yeah, come on. And like that, she's all put back together. And then we'll go ahead and put the wheel back on. I do have to get me a new wheel dust cover. The one that I took off was bad, so I'll need to replace this. They didn't have the ones that I needed at the time. But there you go. That's how you replace your wheel bearings. This has been Brooks Boulanger bringing you another how-to video. Stay tuned. Hopefully here in the next 7 to 10 days I'll have another how-to video. The next one will be on how to replace your trailer floorboards. I've got several on my trailer that definitely need some TLC, so I'm going to get into that and I'll show you how I do it. Also, I want to remind you, if you are a landscaper and you're pulling your trailer on a daily basis, remember to consistently grease your hubs. You want to make sure you're doing that. And also, you know, maybe 2 or 3 times a year you need to jack the trailer up. Definitely give them the old wiggle test, and also spin the tires. See if you can hear any strange noises coming from the hubs. Any of those, a wiggle, some grinding noises, is usually an indication that you need to either repack or replace your bearings. So stay safe out there. You know, you don't want to be going down the road and a tire fly off, and believe me, that can happen. So this is, once again, thanks for watching. Any comments, good or bad, leave them below. And until next time, see you then.